let me say this here so that please, everybody should look at me. You don't have any responsibility to play in a relationship. You don't have any obligation.
Hey Grey Fam, welcome to the Grayroom Podcast. I am your host, Ama. I'm always very excited when we get to talk on the podcast and you guys get to respond, you share and like our content, and you also get to drop a comment. We really love you and we appreciate you. And of course, you are the reason why we are doing all of this. We bring you the right information that you need to know as a young person as you are growing, okay? So, I am very excited to tell you that everything is set for our free webinar. Yes. Remember the course I've been talking about, podcasters, for a while? Yeah, we're going to be having a free webinar where I'm going to explain to you what you need to know, the basics, before you get to start your podcast. So if you own a podcast, you think you're starting your podcast, or you have someone that owns a podcast and you think this webinar is really going to help the person to learn a whole lot, I'm going to be dropping the Zoom link right now. And do not forget the date's the 1st of April by 2 p.m. We will be talking everything about podcasting. I have been running my podcast for a while, and at the same time, I also have broadcasting experience. So I kind of think that, okay, some questions I can answer and I can give you, an insight on what you would need and of course what you should understand about what podcasting is. Today on the show, we are talking about relationships. Not really forming relationships, but maintaining relationships. People now have a problem on maintaining relationships when it begins, and then after a couple of months, it's like, it goes downhill. So we're talking about why relationships don't last that long, masculine, feminine energy, and everything you need to know. With that, I welcome you to the Grayroom Podcast, Season 3, Episode 2. Okay, people, welcome back to the Grayroom Podcast. I'm really excited for today's topic. As I told you earlier, we have an amazing guest in the house, Emmanuel Ned. Thank you so much for making out time to come and join us today. We appreciate you. One thing I really, really love about you is the fact that you're really a chill person, actually. I remember we first met, it was a radio show that brought us together. He comes on radio and he talks about relationships. And somehow I got to realize that, this person is actually a true person,
That's like ages.
That's like ages ago.
That's roughly. Should we put a cap to it? 4 or 5 years?
4 or 5 years ago, yeah. So we've known each other for. But the crazy, we don't even talk that often. It's just when we want something or we know something is up.
She's actually the love of my life.
Aww, that's so sweet.
She's so cool, a friend to have. Once I just, babe, what's up? Darling, how are you doing? I'm just like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm like, okay, we are chill and we move.
We move. Very important. We move. Okay, so thank you so much for coming on the Grayroom Podcast. Appreciate you. Today on the podcast, we are talking about relationships, why young people have relationships and then they have problems maintaining it. So it's one thing to get into a relationship. Another problem is now maintaining it at the same time. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I think, of course, I've actually been talking about relationship almost most of my life. And of course, it won't be out of norms to say that we are having so many divorce cases and also so many breakups, against what our parents had, which sometimes, if you're looking at it from the normal prism, but of course, our parents actually have their issues. Most of them are actually stuck with their partners, not because they would have actually loved to, but because of the whole divorce saga, If there was an open way out, just go separate ways. God won't kill you. God will not break your head.
You won't go to hell.
You won't go to hell. Or society will not frown at you. There will be no African stigma on divorcees and some of those things. Most of our parents would actually love to go separate ways. Sometimes because of the children. That's why they're actually together. But however, our case is actually different, our own dispensation. So we're having, I know, I've spoken of recent, like this year, like 3 to 4 persons between the ages of 20 to 23, and most of them, in fact, the least of them, has actually been in 5 relationships. So 8 relationships, one I think about 7, 5, and the rest. So it shows how we are not able to sustain relationships, and also it also goes further to tell us how most of us jump into relationship for wrong reasons. Of course, if you jump into relationship for wrong reasons, you actually, walk away because of wrong
Wrong
reasons.
reasons as well.
So
Yeah.
one of the major problems why we are not sustaining relationship is most people now pay, relationship is a trend. It is not so yeah.
Yeah, at some point
Yeah.
it's almost like a problem that you're not in a relationship.
Yeah.
I remember talking to a friend and I'm like, oh yeah, at the moment I'm not actively dating. I just they're like,
I like,
oh, is it a problem? I'm like, no, I just decided
so
I don't want to actively date. So it's almost like a problem.
yeah, so you say it's a problem because it goes further to show us that most singles don't know how to stay alone. So anytime they stay alone, they feel they're actually lonely. So they'll have to
Right.
pitch their tent with anyone, regardless whether it's a toxic person or someone who's actually healthy. So it's actually a function of people jumping into relationship when they are not ready. People jumping into relationship when they're not even supposed to. Because honestly, I see no reason why 18-year-old, 17-year-old should actually jump into relationship when you are still struggling with school, when
Man.
you are still trying to sort out your life. Then to make it even complex, that's when your hormones are actually raging, because that's when you are trying to see, that's when you are trying to transcend into real adulthood and some of those things. So it's your heart is thinking, your brain is not thinking, which
True,
is a problem.
true.
So you're thinking and making decisions with your heart, and it's a problem when you're making decisions with your heart. You're supposed to love with your heart and take your brains alongside. So it's actually a problem now, just because people are not ready, so they just jump because it looks as if everybody's actively in relationship. So it's a major problem. Of course, we would actually talk about people having unrealistic expectations. I've never seen.
Right. Yo, because it's almost like when you're in a relationship, there are a couple of things you're expected to do naturally. You have to do
Come on.
this. One of those expectations is sex. Another of those expectations is money changing hands.
Come on,
Someone must be giving the money, or if he's not spending money on you, then it's a problem. If she's spending, yeah, the one I heard, if she's spending too much money, if she's spending money more than the guy, then it's a problem. I'm like,
So it has actually turned to a money changing scheme. Aside from just a money changing scheme, it has actually turned to a poverty alleviation scheme. Then also it has actually, just as you said, it has actually turned to, I'm trying to avoid using the wrong word on A. It has actually, so let me try to pacify it to make it look healthy. It has actually turned into a heap of physical intimacy hub.
right.
So
A little bit of tangling in the sheets. It's like
yeah,
it's
not just a little bit, but
okay.
a heavy tangling. Yeah. So it's actually heavy. In fact, it's actually crazy that most times, because each time I'm actually having sessions with people, I'm going to ask you direct and mean question, and by the time you ask someone, are you both
Oh yeah. Oh,
physically
I
there?
know. I've been there. I
And they're
remember
like,
the time I
oh,
had a little bit of relationship issue, and
and they're like,
this boy was asking me questions. I'm like, God, I beg, you're
yeah,
my friend.
of course, questions are actually the lifeblood of
Yeah.
of our struggle. So of course, most times you were like, my own, if we are not having sex, we can't be. In fact, a lady has actually told me, Mr. Ned, I like you, and I would actually, like, I was just on my own, Mr. Ned, I like you, I would actually want to be in a relationship with you. And I had to ask her, chill, calm down, not too rush. You want to be in a relationship with me, or you're actually looking for someone to have sex? And she was quite cool to tell me, of course, she cannot be in a relationship without having
Okay,
sex.
so now relationship is now a cover for someone you just want to have sex
Yeah,
with.
so it's just and which is a problem. All these days, the moment a girl would actually have her phones sorted out, her father will be okay, her mother will be okay, the siblings will be okay. In fact, she has actually paid her tuition fee. But immediately a guy says, how far? How are you doing? Give it time. The next 2 days, the mother is very sick and needs 250,000 naira. Or next tomorrow, oh, my house rent has actually expired. So you are putting pressure on the relationship. Sometimes people walk away, not because they would have loved to, but because they have to. When the pressure is so choking, in fact, it actually, defines why most times someone would actually be with you before you know if the
So are
guy or
you
the
are,
lady is
are
off.
you saying that people should not spend money on their significant
No, no.
other
So
or
this
not help
is
them out when they
this
have
is this
challenges?
is what I'm saying. You let me say this here so that please everybody should look at me. You don't have any responsibility to play in a relationship. You don't have any obligation. But the truth is, because you love someone, you will feel obligated. Because you love someone, you will feel obligated. But it is not a responsibility. You are not doing it because you are being forced to. You are not doing it because the other party, has a right to those things. You are doing it because you love the person. So I'm showing you kindness because I love you. So I'm doing the things I can do for you because I love you. But don't wake up and tell me I should do some certain things. Nobody has roles in relationship. The same way, it gets into my head when I hear a guy tell me, she has to come and cook for me.
Yo, like
So let's place it side by side. So if a guy feels he's actually entitled, for a lady that just getting to know daily to come and cook, wash dishes,
cook,
do,
wash, sweep,
you
tidy.
know,
I'm like,
those are actually marital privileges.
thank you.
Do some of those things. Obviously, that means you should be able to pay for our father's life support, pay for house rent, and some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? Because these things were not originally in plan for a relationship, it
Okay.
is going to mount pressure on it, such that when those things don't come, you won't feel loved. So it has now turned to a transactional affair, not a relationship.
So what? So you're saying those are marital what's the word?
Responsibilities, yeah.
Responsibilities. So what are you actually supposed to do for someone that you're in a
Of
relationship
course.
with?
So for someone you're actually in a relationship with, you're supposed to care for the person. Of course, care, gifts are actually part of it, but you are giving from the place of love. This is where there is a thin line. You're giving from a place of love. You're not giving because you are forced to. It's like you know, you are paying school fees because you're actually forced to pay school fees. Of course, if you don't pay school fees, you'll be
Yeah,
thrown out
well,
of school.
they'll be kicked out. Yeah.
You understand? So it is quite different from when someone tells you just come to school if you like pay school fees, if you don't like pay school fees, and then in the process you just turn and see one of your lecturers you really like and admire, and you're like, come on, if I don't pay school fees, that means they won't be able to pay him his salary and so
Yeah.
on. So you now do it from the place of I like this guy, I love this. So it is a problem. I say it again, there are no roles, there are no responsibility in a relationship. But however, how to know that someone is in love with you is when they prove their love without being forced to. So I see you,
Right.
of course, if I love you, the people we love our parents and we love our siblings, whether you like it or not,
Yeah.
which would necessitate you helping your siblings, even when they don't even deserve the help. So the same thing happens in love. If someone loves you, they will naturally be obligated to giving you. It comes from that seat of I love you and I would like to do something serious with you, not where you wake up and demand something from me. So one is from the place of demand, while the other is from the place of obligation. So like I feel responsible for you because I love you. So I'm not thinking about myself alone. I'm thinking about two persons. I don't know. This is where most persons get it wrong when it has to do with relationship. If you're not ready to go into relationship, if you're not ready to take up someone else as a responsibility. So I know that I'm supposed to wake up, have my bath in the morning, brush my teeth, wear my shoes and leave my house without calling anybody. If you know that you are not ready to, before you sleep, you call someone to check up on the person, call someone to know how the person is faring, call someone before you even check, has someone to be an integral part of your life, please don't actually be in a relationship. Of course, relationship comes with add-ons. Add-ons are actually things you would actually do in the relationship to keep it going. They're not right or wrong, but there are things you need to do just because the other party actually want those things.
Okay, so you talked about calls, and I'm sure calls, messages,
Yeah.
checking up on the person you're in a relationship
Yeah.
with. So the people that will tell you, oh, I'm not much of a calling person, I don't like calls or text messages, so it's actually a problem for me to reach out. But the person knows, I love you, so I don't really have to be calling you every time to check up on you.
So it is not calling every time to check up on the person that is a problem. At least it's called communication. Just make sure you communicate the way the person wants. See, one thing about relationship most of us don't understand is it is unhealthy for you to give love to your partner the way you feel love.
The way you feel loved?
Yeah.
Really?
So my love language is quality time.
Okay.
Take for instance, of course, the whole world should actually say, I'm actually in love with Amma. So take for instance, my love language is quality time, and yours is act of service. I would most likely give love from the seat of quality time. I'll most likely love. So if I love someone, I want to spend most of my time with the person.
Right.
So if you are supposed to be in a relationship with, just because for me love is felt when there's quality time, right? So I'll most likely give love quality time, but it is wrong. I'm supposed to understand how we want to be loved, which is act of service. So which is where we have major problems. So we're always giving love the way we want. So just because you're not a calling type, you feel your partner is not a calling type. So how do you build communication? In fact, when we are talking about communication in relationship, please, let's not make it too vague, or let's not make it too abstract. Communication is simple. I tell you how I feel and when I feel and what I feel. It's as simple as that. I feel like calling you. I tell you, I feel like that's communication. I'm not okay. I call you and tell you I'm not okay. Or then move from that one to, okay, I don't need to say some certain things. I need to read your body language.
Yeah.
So you cannot tell me that you are not, if you are not a calling type, please stay in a relationship with yourself. There's no problem with that. No problem. Because there is no way you'd actually be in a relationship and not call. Then also I think another major problem while we're having so many issues in relationship these days is most of us, we don't want to accept that relationship dynamics have actually changed. So, most times I sit down and I laugh. Each time I listen to someone, call it in his or her 60s, 70s, or 50s, sitting down to tell someone in early 20s or early 30s or late 20s, I know how you feel. I was once like you, and I laugh. Come on, they don't see. Our parents do not know a jack about us.
Are you being serious?
Yeah.
Like you're actually saying that
Let me tell
live
you,
now?
Yes. Let me tell you how things have actually changed. When our parents were quite young, like us,
Okay.
it was quite hard for them to meet at opposite sex and tell their feelings because it wasn't a norm. Of course, we all know it wasn't a norm. That's why they would tell you how they had to trick mouse to throw stones on roofs.
Yeah.
So that they would wait for her to come or wait for him. Or sometimes, in school, just have to wait for years before someone they will love.
Right. They write the letter.
Yeah, write
and then
letter,
before you
and
get
some
a
of those
response.
things, dynamics have actually changed.
Okay.
Then back then, it was more of, the guy going out to do the whole work, providing and bringing back money, and the woman was not actually working because it was a social construct. That was how it was wired to be.
Yeah.
So I'm just taking us through phases. From there, we actually got to the point where back then, of course, you wouldn't open your mouth and tell a lady, I like you. I would like, I want us to be in a relationship. Most times, people were actually talking about marriage.
Marriage, yeah.
I want to marry you.
That's very similar because when my dad told me about the story how I met my mom, he was like, oh, he saw her, he liked her.
And
he
you knew that she was my wife.
Yeah, I knew she was my wife and I wanted to marry her. I'm like,
Yeah, so back then, people were not doing makeup. Looking more beautiful than that. So
they're not going on dates.
People, they're not going on dates. And guess what? I still say it today, and I stand to be corrected. Most of our parents are not staying in their marriages because they want to. Or they are staying because they have to, because of the children and because of the old divorce saga.
Financial situation.
Yeah, financial situation. What would society say? What would church? Of course, now in most churches, most churches, if you divorce, you're going to hellfire.
Ugh,
God will
tell
come
me
down
about
and
that.
break your head and do some of those things, which is why most of our parents are actually, indulging and also tolerating abusive relationship. I've actually worked with a whole lot of persons, and I've seen. So I can actually tell you, some they'll be beaten, cut with knives, but they'll still stay because of some obvious reasons. That's actually by the side. So those were actually things that actually happened, and they stayed. Women were not actually in the workforce. Fast forward, let's talk about sex. Sex was a hard commodity. Trust me. Oh, back then, sex was actually a
How
hard.
do you mean? How do you mean?
Don't worry, I'm actually
Okay,
so
please.
it was actually a hard commodity. In fact, would you actually open up? People really talked about sex except in the confines of marriage. It's
True.
yeah. So except in the so you will see a girl today, and people marry in their in proximity. So it was very hard for me to live here and meet. So I'm actually in Uyo. Then I'll meet someone, let's say in the UK or Edo State
Yeah, and
or
get married to
Calabar,
her.
and we are talking and we get. It was actually hard, except I needed to travel and meet that. So those were dynamics. But what's happening today? Let me also start today. Everybody's actually in the workforce. That's cliche. The easiest way to a man's food in a man's heart is through food.
I mean, we have men that are cooking now, so I
We
mean,
have men are cooking, and also most of us these days don't really eat. So most of us, if you observe, our dieting has actually changed.
yeah, it
So
has.
we are not the apple,
Yeah, no, lots of people
type. So
do
most
that anymore.
someone like me, please, food is actually stressful. This is coming from me. So it's so I prefer to do my junk, or let me just have my drink and something to
Something to just snack on, and
snack
you're
on. Or
good.
highest, I just do rice and it's over for me.
So you don't want the
so
pounded yam in the morning.
so the easiest way to my heart, food is not even there. Like there's nothing like food. So
Okay.
and I can tell you so many of my friends who are actually things have actually changed. Dynamics have actually changed.
Yeah.
People are actually in the workforce. So a woman goes out. In fact, I had a client. So the lady was actually a banker. Then the guy was actually a business person. So most times she will leave the house as early as 7. Of course, he would actually wake up at any time because he was actually run his business. So
yeah.
guess what is going to happen? He's going to come back early. She is going to come back late. Then that's cliche of women have to cook. I'm not saying it's actually bad. I'm not saying it's actually right. That's cliche of women must actually cook. Do you think it is going to work in the house?
I would not even advise it. Even me myself, like, because see, taking from my own experience, there are days I leave the house as early as 6:30, 7. On 7, I'm already late. So I leave the house and then I get back home around that kind 7:38, almost 9 p.m. I really don't want to cook at that time. I just want to bath and sleep. Or maybe if I'm hungry, I can do food option.
So you see that dynamics have actually changed. So now a man would actually come back. Oh, she cannot, I can't wait for her to come back and cook because it won't be necessary. So he would actually have to be in the kitchen. Guess what? Roles have naturally been altered. Or most times, I still say it, if there is an easiest way to do something right and easy, please do it. These days, for me, I don't even like the idea of cooking and washing. Is there any way we can actually outsource it? If there is any way we can outsource it, we outsource it. So I feel sometimes some of these discussions are actually, from the threshold of poverty. Sorry, that's just my design. So things have actually been altered. So men are now in the kitchen. Women are now in the workforce.
Yeah.
Then you also go to your office. People are actually doing the same thing. Women are actually competing with men. Women now have almost the same purchase power with men.
True.
Which is why women are enlightened now. So just before, women used to need, women needed men for financial security mostly, not even emotional, before emotional. But these days, women need men for emotional security because most of them can take care of their needs. So why would I, put up with a man who doesn't know how to care for me emotionally.
Talking about this, so I was scrolling through TikTok this morning, and then there was this man that was complaining that, oh, when he met his wife, she was very, very loyal and calm. And then he brought her to the UK, and now she's the one throwing him out of the house. And then another one stitched the video and was trying to give an explanation. So he was saying that some ladies, all they need to do is just, once they have $80,000, the next thing they've turned against their husband, they're kicking the man out of the house and all that. And I'm like, okay,
You
is
know,
this a money problem, or is this something else we need to understand?
Somehow it is a money problem. It is also an enlightenment problem.
Okay.
Then also it is also aside from money problem and enlightenment problem, it is also a growth problem. Yeah, I think if we actually
Okay.
have time, I will try to balance that.
Please,
So
go ahead.
things have actually changed. Everybody is not in the workforce. So the whole feminism movement is as a result of enlightenment. Come on. We should sit down and talk about some certain things the way we should sit down and talk about some certain things. Nobody is actually intimidating anybody. So we can actually talk about some certain things as adults against what was actually happening. Then nowadays, trust me, these days, you don't need to pay bucks of money to get access to illicit videos. Which
Right.
so
I mean, it's a click on your phone and then you're
what
already
I say,
there.
click. You don't need to click. Most of us, so I can that's. I have an incident which is so much in my mind every time.
Okay.
So if you have a message Bible in your phone
Mm-hmm.
and your data is always on, like myself, most times,
Yeah.
ad from a certain website would actually pop up
Yeah, of
because
course.
those guys
Oh
spend
yeah.
millions of
Oh.
naira in doing ads. So
Oh yeah.
this, and we feel our minds actually forget. No, our minds do not forget. So these things stay. These things
Nah,
stay.
man.
And then in the night or when you're actually alone, these things come up. So many pressures coming up. Then of course these days our parents used to dress so modest, cover everything, but now
Yeah.
everybody's dressing to suit how they feel.
Yeah.
So I wake up. In fact, I don't need to use my phone to to see a woman's cleavage. Let me just stroll out of my house and just. So it's happening. So many pressures, dynamics have actually changed. Now the question is not how can we actually be in a relationship now.
Okay.
The question is how can we sustain a relationship?
Yeah.
Because you are too close not to be in relationship. So I'm too close. Nowadays, before it was very hard for you to have opposite sex in your workspace, but nowadays, come on,
True.
flip your eyes. You have them
It says
everywhere.
flip your eyes.
So flip, it's they're actually everywhere. So the question is now, how can we actually sustain a healthy working life relationship? Not even how can we start, because if you want a relationship, people are having 10, 15 relationship before they actually
I
30.
mean,
These are things our parents do not understand.
yeah.
So most times I see that and they're like, I understand the pressure you're going. No, you don't
Sir,
actually
you do
understand
not.
the pressure. You don't even understand the pressure that goes with a guy who is doing his legit business and earning in thousands, and a boy who is going into fraud and earning in millions.
Millions, right?
So
And he's now
you are actually a
flaunting.
guy and you are pressured. It looks as if what you are doing is not is not well, is not okay, which is what our parents do not understand, because in their era is I work and I get what I
Abi?
so now ladies are now pressured to be in relationship not because they're actually in love, but they are pressured to be in relationship because they're looking for a MoneyGram project. So a guy who can actually fix their bills and take care of their bills. Now people are now talking about money, talking about, this is when people are actually talking about what do people say? Marry who is available against who you love.
Really?
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Marry who's available. I thought they said that that's for men.
No.
Men marry who is available.
No, women marry who is available against who they love. So the guy that is ready to pay everything, take them on vacation against who they love. So they'll actually go with the guy, and it's a problem because you did not love this guy. And so it is easier for guys to grow into love with women than for women when a woman does not like you or love you from the beginning.
Are you saying she cannot grow to love you
No,
at some
she
point?
can. Some of them can, but it's actually hard.
Hard.
Because women first of all connect emotionally before they even connect otherwise. So
Okay.
they can, but guys connect physically before they even connect emotionally. So these are actually pressures that are actually hanging on relationship, and it looks as if we can't sustain relationship because we have the whole sexual pressure, we have the whole expectation pressure, we have the whole, you know, finance, money, so many
Okay,
things.
so a lot of people make it seem like that video I was talking about on TikTok. The man was making it seem like, oh, because she's now making more money, it's not a problem. That so they now generalize it to once a woman is making money, it's a problem. She cannot submit anymore. She cannot be loyal
Yeah,
and all of that. Is that really a thing?
yeah. So I think you just said something when you talk about submission. So I love when people talk about. By the time you have issues around submission in your marriage, so I'm not speaking for the women. I'm not actually speaking for the men. I'm actually objective. Women naturally submit to who they love. When a woman is not submitting to you, it means you are not loving her right the way you should. So there is something that is faulty, hence she cannot submit. Women naturally, it's like a woman to give to a guy. When a woman is in love with you, giving becomes a love language. She can't even stand knowing that guy where I like or guy where I love,
Mhm.
not even get transport commodity. You know. But when she doesn't love you, if you like, get transport, you know, see anything like handkerchief, you know.
Right, right.
So submission comes when a woman is, which is why when a woman is in love with a man, she can empty account just to please him. So whenever we are talking about submission, look before you even talk about submission, look what are you doing which she doesn't like. What are those things you've not met her need, her core need. So anytime a woman starts to revolt, and before women revolt, it takes a longer time. So women do not just wake up and leave the relationship. Women first of all eject emotionally before they eject physically. So by the time you are actually in love with a lady, or a lady is actually in love with you, when she's trying to mother you, so she's trying to ask questions. What are you wearing? Where are you going? These are things guys do not even like, but these are
You guys
things.
don't like it?
Yeah,
Why people pretend like you do?
yeah. So, just to maintain peace.
Come
So
on.
she will try to mother you, try to know where you are going, who you are meeting, and some of those things. When she stops doing those things, when a woman stops doing those things, you'll be like, where your clothes, come on, she not saying you. That means she has actually ejected emotionally. Just watch out. You wake up one day and you just cough. And she, why are you coughing? I'm not doing it again. So yeah, of course, that's actually how women eject. So before a woman revolts, look inward. There's something you are not doing to make her happy. Something is missing. So by the time you actually sit down and ask questions, you actually identify that. So as regarding that TikTok
Yeah,
video,
the video, yeah.
so I talked about a function of growth, and
Mhm.
I talked about a function of
Finances,
finances, and I
the
talked about
workplace.
a function of wordplay. So first of all, let me talk about growth. I'm saying this now, please. Of course, we know that there are actually 5 love languages, right?
Yeah,
But
correct.
please, I've actually added one, and it's what I've actually been preaching. Growth is actually a love language,
Really?
which is why these days we hear cases of the guy put her through school,
Yeah.
took care of her, did everything, but when she finished school,
She didn't want to
she
be
didn't
with him
want to marry the
again.
guy again. And most times, just sit down and ask questions. Why does she not want to marry? It's because she has actually outgrown you. See, it is very hard for you to come down to a low level. You can actually try to patch up your life, to meet the people on top. This is what happens when you are trying to push someone, send someone through school, provide, make someone look strong and some of those things. Please make sure that you are not doing that at your own detriment. As you're trying to push her, you also push yourself. What happens is, it is very sick when you don't have a BSc, you don't even have a BA, and a girl, you put her through school, secondary school, she gets into the tertiary institution and she meets friends. on that same level.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that proximity breeds intimacy.
Yeah, of course.
So she has met people on that same level, and they're talking, they're vibing, they're getting along, they're synchronizing, they're doing assignments together,
Yeah.
doing so many things. There
Night
is every
class,
tendency that
everything.
she'll catch feelings for one of them. Of course, meeting someone of that same class and make things worse. She's done. She gets a master's, and you are still in your BSc. Sorry, in your SSC. Trust me, there's everything because she has actually outgrown you. Guess what? You can count how many of your friends you are not friends with them anymore.
True.
It is not because you wouldn't have loved to be friends with them, but come on, life has taken it's called check.
Yeah.
It's called normal life check and balance. So if you're not growing, people will outgrow you. And when someone outgrows you, there is nothing you would do. We did a statistics why clergymen cheat on their partners. It's because one of the things we found was that most of the clergy, if you observe, most except few of them who are now doing ministry with their wives, most of them outgrow their wives, so they'll be traveling, doing a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, having more experiences.
And their wives are actually at the background most times wearing wrapper,
Oh
just
my
in the
gosh.
house. And guess what happens? Is the man is actually traveling with a PA, which most times will be a female, or traveling to go preach somewhere, so many places. He's meeting people on that same level,
Yeah.
and he's going to connect because he has actually. In fact, you would actually fall in love with someone you've stayed, I think, more than 72 hours with, and you've actually talked with the person
fast?
more than 72 hours. So love is actually an addiction. So I talk with you every day. First of all, I'll start to like how you talk. I'll like how you dress. Before I know, I'll get comfortable around you. That's how
Yeah.
people cheat. So one person has actually outgrown. So guys, I think we need to do a whole lot of stuff while we are growing people. It is very hard for you to hear a guy has actually taken a lady overseas and is actually doing a whole lot of things and she is not doing, and she would actually wake up one day and start to throw
Yeah, because the man was
tantrums.
like, "Oh, she now wants to start working, and then they start earning money,
What's
and then
that?
once they start, and he was like, from the start earning $80 or $70,
That's $70,000, huh?
$70,000, $80,000. Next thing, she's no more.
That's the thing.
You
So
know.
so growth is actually a factor. Then the other one, of course, actually talked about enlightenment, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So enlightenment is it is very common for us to love at the place of where we are. So I'm going to love more. Imagine if I spend all the rest of my life around people in Uyo.
Okay.
Of course, I'll most likely get comfortable loving people in Uyo because
Uyo.
I'm used to that environment. But by the time I'm taken out of that environment, so call it, I'm doing IT somewhere else, call it in Lagos, I'm going to meet a whole lot of persons. My perspective about life has actually changed. It has actually grown. So I'm seeing more options. I'm like, yo, that means I was actually in the dark. And guess what happens when a woman is more enlightened? Which is why guys need to double up each and every day. See, the only thing women want in life when it has to do with relationship and marriage is security. By the time a woman knows I'm emotionally secure with you, if you go outside, you represent me well. I represent you well. I can show you off. Financially, you are there. Emotionally, you are there. Sexually, you are there. You don't need to do anything. That's finished. All what summary of everything women want in this life is security. Nothing more, nothing less. So by the time she's more enlightened than you, it's a problem. She will leave you. Yeah, of course. Then also workforce, which also comes with money. By the time the whole idea of feminism is actually, come on. That means I don't actually need a man to pay for my bills when I have money to pay for my bills.
No, like, it's crazy because at some point, now this is me going very, very personal. At some point when I started working and I started making money, and I realized that, so for a while, if I want to get stuff, I'll be my parents, okay, I need money for this. But I have the money. I can just walk in and buy what I need. And so it's almost like, okay, I can now do this. So why do I need you again?
So at this point in your life, all what you care for is, come on, I need a guy who is emotionally available, not a guy who is financially available. And guess what, man? So a traditional man is actually confined to feel that loving a woman is actually a function of money.
Oh yeah, I have a friend that is complaining about a guy because all he does is just drop money. I'm like, but you see with money. And I say no because it's just money and go.
So if I'm making my money, and why should I actually, why should I actually stick with a guy who cannot give? I have money, you too, you also have money. So there should be something that sets you apart. When we're talking about leadership, I think I'm struggling not to go deep.
Okay.
When we're actually talking about leadership in relationship, it goes beyond I am the head of the house. I'm the head of the family. It goes, it goes as far as understanding and detecting how to set principles and precepts, understanding and detecting how to lead emotions and energy, understanding and detecting how to play the man role without even dishing out money. Of course, some of the courses I teach men is how to be a man without spending money. I
Yeah,
know
because it's almost like as far as you're a man, once the same man, it's your money.
it's just so. And guess what? The currency of life in this dispensation has actually changed. It is not all about money, because money is everywhere. Everyone has money. It is
Yeah, of
quite
course.
easy for everyone to have money. A 19-year-old actually has money, but what would actually separate a 19-year-old from someone who is actually advanced in age is actually the leadership skills,
Okay.
ability to lead a home, ability to lead a woman. No woman will stay with a man that cannot lead.
True.
End of quote.
True. Okay. Okay. And of course. All right. So lately there has been a lot of conversations about masculine
Oh,
energy and
come on.
feminine energy being in my dark feminine energy being at some point I
That
don't
sounds
even
like
know.
me.
I think the first time I heard
Ah, come on.
masculine and feminine energy, I heard it from him. And he was like, oh, she's operating her masculine energy. I said, now it's be this. My man like, now it's be this. So please let us, so we can establish what it
Yeah,
actually is. Because if you're going through social media, you see a lot of, conversations, what it should be, what it shouldn't be. A lot of people there's some things you say, I'm like, yeah, I don't know a lot about this, but I know that's not it. So please,
yeah.
what is
So,
masculine and feminine
so,
energy?
of course, we know the all male and female stuff. Men are actually different. Women are actually different. I
Of
think
course.
the earlier we actually understand this and try to pinpoint our differences, we won't actually try to compete. So I guess most of the things we have been doing, of recent, is actually trying to compete instead of trying to complement. So
Yeah.
the whole idea about who we are should actually be complementation, complementarity, not competition. So masculine energy is actually how a default man is wired. A default man is wired to hunt, is wired to provide, is wired to take care, is wired to guide what he has, which is why for people like us who study animal kingdoms, that's where you actually get to understand what testosterone does in a man. So it gives you that leadership sense. So I'm actually in charge of this. I feel this is what I should do. I feel I should protect. I'm not supposed. So you don't need to teach a boy growing up that is supposed to be a boy.
Yeah.
Trust me, these are things that comes natural to him. You don't need to teach a boy growing up that he should play with 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 with
Guns
with
and
guns and some of
football
those
and
things.
all
You
of
don't
that.
need to. If
Yeah.
I put them in a room, guess what will happen? They would.
He just
Yeah, of
naturally
course.
migrates.
You don't need to teach a lady that, if, take for instance, I like to give this example. If, let's just assume there's a gunshot here, what is going to happen automatically, despite the age difference? You will run to my back.
True. True.
You actually run to my back.
Uh-huh. Even when yourself, you're also trying to hide
If
yourself.
even when and guess what is gonna happen? Most times when I see you run to my back, my ego would actually push me to, let me just try and show myself. It's how we are wired. It's energy. It's ego. It's called ego protection and authority. That's how a man is wired. And also a man is actually wired to a man is wired to a man is wired to, what's the right word? Is wired to pay more attention to a woman. Take for instance,
Really?
yeah. So take for instance, if you have three guys here who are seated, and a guy and a lady, they both come in, and the guy has a challenge of, call it 100,000, and I have 200,000. and a girl comes in and has a challenge of 150,000. Guess who we are going to favor? No, just guess who we are going to
Oh,
favor.
come on. It's the lady. We know.
Why? But why? It shows how we are wired. The same way, so when I'm teaching femininity, I tell ladies, by the time you understand what you have,
Yeah.
you won't joke with it. Men are actually afraid of women when they cry. So because she's crying, let me try to please her, no matter what she wants.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true because I remember one time I was going through a blog post or something. They were asked doing this normal poll across married people, and then the man was like, "Oh, initially when she cries, it's like, oh yeah, please, let me just." I think it was Timid that called us on. I said, "Let me just give her what she
Let me
wants."
just give her what she
But now
wants.
the man said he wait for her to finish crying and
Okay.
still drive home his point.
So no matter if a woman cries, like if she just, you will actually, because you can't, the soft spot in you, we are wired to please ladies. Let's not get it. Men are actually wired to please ladies.
Okay.
So when she cries, when she pleads, some other things, seduction as well. Yeah,
Okay.
when seduction, aura. Women have natural aura. It comes with them to make a guy do things he wasn't even supposed to do. So it's actually, so by the time we understand this whole idea of, you see a man and you're trying to, that's why when a lady tries to act all strong before
Yeah.
a man, you are pissing him off. You make him, he won't love you how he's supposed to.
It's the same thing I tell ladies. I'm like, you're a woman for a reason. I'm not gonna compete with you. You're a man. That's
See,
what you're
let's
supposed to do.
see,
Let's not stress it.
see. I tell women, if you want to carry something and a man is there, please don't carry it. Do as if you want to let him carry it. What's going to happen most times is, by the time you try to do some certain things he is supposed to do, like, I'm trying to be very sensitive, but so I'm not saying that's something we are not supposed to do for ourselves.
Yeah.
By the time you try to walk in his energy, it is going to be all confrontational. So take for instance, do you know that when a woman nags in quotes or when a woman yells, it doesn't bring any results? It can never bring, because you're coming to him with what he has. So he has masculine energy. So you are shouting, he's shouting, but guess what? If a guy shouts and he comes at you shouting and you are not shouting back, it makes him think, how far? Am I not shouting well?
Am I not shouting well?
You understand? Am I not shouting? It is because when you're actually in your feminine energy, what men don't, why am I breaking men code?
Please, break it.
I'm breaking the bro code. What men do not understand, they get attracted to. What we don't understand, we get attracted. So keep 5 ladies here, and all of them are just talking well, flowing well, and one of them is just very quiet, reserved.
Yeah, you guys always like to go for the psychotic, very crazy.
Let's not
and
talk
then
more.
and then you now be like, oh my, I don't. Why do people like doing that thing? People still come to us and sit and complain.
You know why?
Wait, that you that, oh my, I don't even know.
You know
She's
why?
just doing this, but you still like
You know
her.
why?
You're still dating
You
her.
know why? It is because we don't understand her. We are.
Okay, so
You are
basically, na see
supposed.
finish, na see
No,
finish.
no, no, no. It is not see finish. It is what we don't understand. We get attracted to. So why is everybody shouting? And she's what? That means there's something special about her. So it's energies are actually different. Feminine energy, have your aura. See, by the time women master the art of dressing well, eloquence, dressing well, not just what you say, but how you say the things you say. You don't need to be polished, trust me. But just say the right things and be in your candor. Just be in your space, be in your aura.
How do you get to be in this space and be in this aura? Because that is the problem.
I think it's going to be an obvious masterclass.
Okay, that's good too. So if you want to learn how to be in your aura and in your feminine energy, please hit him up, Emmanuel Ned on social media, and he's gonna tell you all about that. This has been a very interesting session because At this point, see, let me know if I'm going to lie. I've just shut down, and I'm like, I don't even have strength, because it's almost like if you're not dramatic, if you're not doing one crazy thing or the other, oh, then that means my no. And then I think at some point I got to realize that you men don't like peace. If she's not about to burn your house down, if you cannot sit
No.
down and work and just have peace of mind and just work, saying, you have to be thinking, God, she's going to burn my, she's going to burn somebody's
Yeah,
house down. You will not like
yeah,
that one.
so that's what I said. When we cannot figure out everything about you, you put us in the dark and we are more attracted to you. So I feel in this age, but I still say this is the age where it's most easy to build a relationship, because by the time you understand what is in vogue, please don't try to use what subsisted 10 years ago to try to work in today's model. What do we need now? As a girl, I say it's, guys, please don't date and don't marry a broke man. Women, don't also date and marry a broke guy.
Okay.
Get a life faith before you even think of relationship. Why we are actually having issues talking about so many things we are not supposed to talk is because we have people who don't have have a knowledge about who they are, what they want, what they should be, who they should be with, jumping into relationship. By the time you don't know who you are, you're gonna attract everybody. It's like me. There are so many. In fact, it's like you. There are so many places someone can never find you.
Sure.
See, a typical example, I was with a friend of mine. Someone called me for a meeting. I thought it was a normal meeting I should be found. But when I went with my friend, when we went there, the people we saw at that place, we could not stay because by no reason should we be found around where such people are.
Yeah.
So which is what most persons are actually doing in relationships. So most persons, because they don't have a grasp of who they are, what they want, they don't have a life. They don't even have. I said most persons will not be in the relationship they are in if they had all the money they ever wanted.
I think so too.
Have all the money, then live the kind of life they ever
They ever they
wanted.
want.
So have a life phase, have a purpose, and trust me. Then seek to actually understand how relationship work. I say it, even with the right person, even with the compatible person, the most compatible person with you. By the time you lack the knowledge of how love is supposed to work, the knowledge of how to understand, the knowledge of different genders, the right knowledge of what to say and what not to say, love language, you still have a failed relationship. So meet the right person and seek the right knowledge. And if you feel you're actually stuck somewhere, please seek professional help. It's
Okay,
very
so
simple.
I'm gonna ask this. Some people go into relationship therapy when something is going wrong. Is it only when something is going wrong people should maybe meet a therapist, someone like you, to help out, or even though everything is going right, you actually get to meet
So
someone?
the same way we actually have our personal doctors,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes just reach out, okay, let me just go and check my vitals, let me go check what is happening. I think it is actually important, if you can actually pay for our services, you can actually look out for books, read some
Yeah.
certain things. You don't need to wait till when your relation, because most times what I've actually observed is most people seek help when their relationship is almost over. So I know so many persons when they're actually at the verge of divorce, that's when let me go and look for a coach that will actually help me, which the deed has actually been done. So I think it will be proper that if you have a time to time checkup with an expert, if you feel some issues in your relationship are not being solved, because most times what break relationships are not the big problems, but the tiny tiny things that have actually compounded to become the big things.
Anyways, that was really insightful and amazing, and I think I have learned a whole lot. I don't even think I know I have learned a whole lot. Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
agreeing to come today on the podcast. We appreciate you. We're hoping to have you sometime again so we can
Anytime,
get to talk about this. We really appreciate you. Thank you. All right, people. So remember, I always want to hear from you. I want to hear your feedback, and of course, I want to know what you think. So remember to drop a comment in the comment section. Like if you agree or even if you disagree with any of the things he has said, I want us to have that conversation. Okay, so let's just talk and let's get to clear the air. Thank you so much. I really love you and appreciate you. I will see you in the next video. Ciao.